Good morning, class. Welcome to the online classes. Here, in the last class, you may have seen what the manners and the etiquettes are and their difference. Here, we are going to see about different kinds of the etiquettes that we are going through. So, firstly, here you can see that the personal etiquette. What that personal means, the thing which we can do for ourselves, for that may be for our body, that may be for our throat, or for the whole cleanliness of the body. So, everything which we consider for ourselves will be taken as a personal etiquette. So, rules that we should follow in the society or in some public situations. At that time, what rules we should follow, or what are the codes for a well-behaved person in a society are considered as a personal etiquette. Firstly, we know that we should be very neat and clean while going to some places. We should have our personal hygiene, neat and clean, well-dressed person, well-dressed clothes should be there, neatly trimmed hair, everything a person used to say, like whenever your exams comes or whenever some externals used to come to your schools, every teachers used to tell you that you should well trimmed, you should be well neat and clean dressed up. That means some codes are there whenever you enter into some places. It may be your personal, or it may be a professional or a career things. It should be well, a code should be taken, like well dressed up, well trimmed hair, neat and clean, should be tidy. The certain things should be take care whenever we enter into a public societies. So well-bred person knows that what can be done in public and what should be done strictly in private. Like whenever a person enters into a public place, we know that sometimes whenever we ready to be cupped, we used to do it very privately or very silently so that others cannot see us. Like whenever we sneeze, we used to have some hankies on our hands and we used to clear it, or we should cover our nose and mouth. Similarly, nowadays we are wearing the masks. You should sanitize properly. We should sanitize regularly and should help the others also to sanitize. And similarly, yawning. Sometimes whenever we feel very much tired, we used to yawn. We used to clear the throat sometimes. This all should be done very silently as possible, because it should not make others to be irritated, or it should not make others to feel hesitate of us. So we should take care of our personal hygiene. We should be very neat and clean whenever we enter the public societies. We should be take care of our things whatever we are using. So this are almost an essential traits of a person of an etiquette. Means a person of a good etiquette should follow all these kinds of the rules, that we should do the things whatever we want to do in the public very nicely, and some things which we should avoid, we should do it very silently in the private places. So some like you share a room or a bathroom whenever we used to do in the hostels or the classrooms, or a compartment in the train or the seat. You have certain special obligations, but we should ensure that you do not do anything to cause inconvenience. We are having some of our personal obligations, but the thing is that we should understand the feeling of the others. Like an old person is not getting a seat in his bus, we used to give some seat so they can sit, but we don't like that the person is touching us or by sitting beside us very closely. We are doesn't like also, sometimes we doesn't like their personal hygiene things, that what they are having with them. They doesn't clean their own hands and all, they doesn't sanitize nowadays. So some obligations are there, but we should think, or we should be like the person, that we should not create an inconvenience for the other one, or the embarrassed, they should not feel embarrassed to be sitting with us. So that is what a manner is, and that is what a good etiquette that person should carry for their personal affair. Similarly, good manners are the combination of intelligence, education, taste and style mixed together. Now only I told you that manner is something that will contain the whole rules, but only the rules will be considered as an etiquette. So good manners will be having that the combination, how much you are intelligent, how much what the education you have, means the knowledge which you are carrying with you. Similarly, your taste, your style mixed together, so that you don't need any of those things, right? That is what a good manner is. So personal etiquette is something, or in a simple way, that whenever you enter into the public society, whatever the things you should do it in the public, and the things which you should avoid should be done in the private places. You should not make others feel inconvenience or embarrassed. Whenever you are helping, you should help with a wholehearted person, not as a person like making other persons inconvenience or making him embarrassed to sit with us. So we should help the others, we should understand the person's situation, we should understand the person's feelings, then only we should get aware of him, and then we can help him. That is what a personal etiquette is, and we should follow them to make a good person or a well-bred person. Because whenever a person says that you are of a good manners or well behaved, we used to think, we used to get satisfied, and also we used to think that we are from a good upbringing. That means our parents have given us a lots of good manners to behave in a public. Now the second point, that is social etiquette. Social etiquette, I think everyone in nowadays, for a trendy thing, for every young person who is going to make his personality develop, or his career going to be developed now in the future. So there everything should be done in the skill. They are having different skills for everything, like for from dressing up to their shoes, their hair trimming, about the way you are having your bags or luggages with you, the way you are taking the interviews, or how you are saying, or what the words you are going to use. All this social skill will be considered as a social etiquette. So social etiquette for nowadays, for a young person, is an important skill, just who is trying to plan out for his future. So what the word you are using, act of the things, what you are trying to say or trying to tell others, how you are respecting others, how you are showing your respect towards the elders, especially elders, and small person's maturity means, whenever you are sitting before an elder person, it is different from the person from a good, like you are sitting before your interviewer, the person who is taking your interview, that person will be also a elder one, but not that much elder, or the poor person, that you will be showing him some kindness. But yeah, we know that we should show some respect to the person. Whenever they offer our seat, we used to ask that, can we sit, or may I sit, may I have the seat or not. These are the things that we should follow. So the rules which should be followed by the person, just to make his career to be developed, or to his personality to be developed, are considered as a social etiquette. So the rules which should be followed whenever we enter into the public societies or in the social etiquette are considered to be the social etiquettes. The poor etiquette can spoil most beautiful moments. That is also the correct one, because if you are not having a good etiquette or the poor etiquette, that small mistake by you will spoil the whole function which you are attending there. So we should not be in a that much bad way that we doesn't have a normal etiquette also. We should follow each and every etiquette. Yeah, we used to miss some of the etiquette. It doesn't mean that we are having the poor or ill well-being of our persons, because our parents have given us a very good upbringing, that we can follow many rules, and without getting into the classes of the personality development, we have most of the developments in ourselves, right? And I think everyone in the classes also, we know that how we should behave with the elders, or how we should behave in a public societies. So every person are from a well behaved family, and went through upbringing, and I know that each and every teachers also are trying to make you fine tuned. So everyone is having your own social etiquettes. So we should not spoil the beautiful moments and breaks the relationships, like personal relationships can also be broken, and miss a chance of entering into a good career. Because in our interviews also, everyone used to check it out, that how you are sitting, how you are having your own tiffin also. Sometimes you see some persons used to say that how you are eating, how you are having your own personal hygiene, whether you are carrying your mask, whether you are carrying your sanitizers nowadays, and how you are using a word, how you are saying hello, or how you are just shaking your hand. Everything is to be considered into a social etiquette. So if you are not having this all things, you can just miss the chance of entering into a good career or a good future, right? So good manners and etiquettes are mostly used to be learned at a home, because home is the first tutor, and our mother is the first tutor, because home is something which makes you full of knowledge and makes you upbringing with a good behavior. So most parents teaches their children that how to visit, whenever some visitors come to our home, that how we should greet them, how we should answer them, how we should behave, how we should respect the person, how we should talk in a very normal tone rather than to whisper or shout. And like do not waste out the food, do not throwing all the garbages over there, do not splitting the papers over there. How we should use the words, what words we should use. Everything is to be taken given to us, or upbringing is to be given by our parents itself. So I think mother is our first tutor, or our father is our first tutor. So from our parents itself we are learning all these manners. So etiquettes are mostly learned to be at a home itself, and most parents are used to make us teach that how we should behave in the public, how we should greet others, how we should help others, how we should spoke to the person, or how should we answer the person. So all are the different kinds of the rules that we should follow. And so learning such lessons ensure that a child grows up as a polite and a well balanced adult. That the person, that child which he is learning all these things from his parents in a very early age, then he will behave very well when he grows up, and will be a very balanced adult. When he become an adult child, then he will become a very well balanced and a polite person. So here you can see some points that it is good to pay attention to the following social skills. Some of the social skills you can see here. You are expected to rise when seniors or some visitors or the elders enters, and whenever a ladies enter into the room, we should expected to stand, right? Similarly, while introducing the people also, gentlemen are introduced to ladies, juniors to seniors, and young to old. Similarly, whenever we enters, whenever some other persons enter into our place also, we should visit very properly. In the case of VIPs, others are introduced to them, right? One who introduced says, may I introduce, or let me introduce, because whenever we take or we introduce our friends to the others or the other persons to that official person, then we used to say that, let me introduce, like this is Mr. Some name will be there, or Mrs. some name will be there, and we will introduce that this is the person and he is having some qualities like this and he is from here. So we introduce this person to the other one. So the way we know that how we should introduce, it is normal to shake hands while being introduced. Nowadays it is very casual that we should first of all shake our hand, but not with the ladies unless they gave the first move. Like if the ladies are of a good official and they have a good etiquette that you used to shake an hand, if they are giving from there it is first, then you can have the first move from yourself also. So different rules that you should follow in the social skills that are considered as social etiquette. So now we are going to table manners. I think everyone knows what the table manners are. Like you should have your own coverings whenever you eat. You should wash your hands, and similarly you should have the utensils properly. You should use that cutlet sets properly. You should not split the food wastely. You should not waste of the foods. You should not you should closely and keep your mouth closed while eating, because sometimes whenever you use some sounds from the other's mouth, it makes us embarrassed to and very feel hesitating to be sitting beside us, because his sound will make you whispering sound should not be there while eating. So here are some points which you can see that table manners reflect your good breeding and refinement, because if you are from a good breeded family, then it will be reflecting in your tables itself. So good table manners make a people feel comfortable and graceful to be sitting with you, to have a dinner with you. So some are the points which you have to follow, like one of them are be dressed at appropriately for the occasion. Whatever the occasion will be, you will be having the appropriate dress. Second, sit up straight and do not place your elbows on the table. You should not have our elbows on the table and will sit, and that also shows that he is not a good manner. Napkin must not be used as a towel. Do not heap your plate. Use proper cutlery sets for the different dishes. I already told you, for different dishes different cutleries are there. Offer the dishes to the people sitting on either side. First of all, you should offer, then you should take that food. Chew with your mouth very closed. Do not overstuff your mouth. Should not have sometimes our mouth used to be dirt, means along with the food it look very dirty. Do not talk with your mouth full. Do not drink tea or coffee from the saucer. Do not reach for dishes that are far, because sometimes it used to fill and it can split out the whole food also. Thanks your host for the great lunch and the dinner at the end. So these are the rules which you should follow whenever you are going in the table or having a dinner with the others. So these are the manners, like table manners, which will show your good breed also, that from where you came from and from where the family is, because your upbringing is only the family which shows you this all things which your manners you are following. Then the queue education, I think queue, everyone know that we should follow a line whenever you enters into, like for buses we used to do, for in our schools also we used to do, in our prayer times, assemblies, classroom assemblies, before or after assemblies, we used to follow in a queue. So it is important that we develop a social sense of standing in a queue for many of our ordinary course, such as movie tickets also we have seen in the theatres, for railway tickets, of our boarding buses, submitting admission forms, moving to the classrooms after assemblies, etc. Most of us do well in following the queue etiquette. However, some people become impatient, right, because it become late. Sometimes it becomes late, then we used to be very impatient that how can we be there, or it is being very late. So that time a person become very arrogant, or he becomes some impatient, that he can't wait. We can say that he can't wait, so he will be doing he is using a very harsh words also. Sometimes he behave rudely also, even abuse. Sometimes we can hear some abused words also, abuse people on the other side of the counters. So this is not the way that we should follow. We should not have these kinds of rules also in our mind, that we should abuse or make other persons hurt, or we act impatiently. So some of the tips of the queue etiquette are like, be prepared to spend sufficient time to wait in the queue, because you should make your mindset like that you are going to spend a lots of time in that queue line, so that you can be patient. If you are thinking that okay, this work should be done in 5 minutes and I have to be written back, then at that time you will become impatient and you will be acting very arrogantly and will be using abused words. If you are standing in the queue which involves payment of money, it is better to carry with you exact change, because with the change it will again make a situation very arrogant. Before you stand in the queue, make all necessary inquiries regarding the forms, time schedule, and the customer care centers, because sometimes we used to forget that what we have written, we never complete our form fill ups correctly. Then again, as you reach to the counter, again you have to set back because you have not completed a form, you doesn't have a good change for your money also. So everything we should take care before entering into the queue itself. Do not leave the queue in between. Others may consider you are an intruder when you try to get your place later, because I know that whenever you leave your place, means everyone knows about it, that when a person stands and he leaves that place and again when can come back to in the same place, then others say that he is just entering into the place, that too without a belonging. So have patience, develop the ability to tolerate getting upset or agitated. Do not touch or push those being in the infant. Do not use abused words. Do not be arrogant. Apologize for any mistake that whatever you have been doing that queue in the queue line. If you have some mistake, you should say sorry also for the mistake you have been done. These are the etiquette rules and should be followed in the queue line. Similarly, cell or the mobile phone etiquette. I think everyone should follow this nowadays, because I think more phone and the mobile phones have become one of the most useful thing or a necessary thing, like an oxygen itself, because breathing is something which was very important or necessary for us. Similarly, nowadays phone also became the same thing for us, because whenever you sleep, then also first last thing which you're going to see is the phone, and whenever you get up early, that time the first thing which you see is the phone. So mobile phone user has to observe some basic rules just to show his polite manner. Cell phones users often tend to forget their surrounding and speak loudly. Whenever some phone calls used to come, they used to speak loudly and should not speak. That is not a way you are talking. You should go some distance from there, so that should not get others inconvenience. So matters in the public matter in things which you should talk in public, you should, but when you have to talk it privately, you should go out from there. You should go through the distance, and then you can have a talk with the person whom you have called. Obnoxious ringtones, like different music used to be coming from the mobiles, of different kinds of ringtones nowadays, and different songs also make some other people's inconvenience. Or if you are sitting in a public places and if that sing means that ringtone used to be there, and some caller tunes are also be there. Whenever some person heard this, they feel inconvenience or embarrassed to hear that kind of song. So you should have a polite ringtone. And conferences, stage programs, and even sacred ceremonies, at that time you should not use this mobile phones and should have some rules to follow it. Here are some rules that you should follow while using a mobile or a cell phone. Set the mode of a cell phone in keeping with the place and work involved, because in the place, if you are sitting like in your school or a classroom, we used to make it silent, and sometimes we should switch it off also according to the situation, and sometimes we should set it on the vibrate or in the silent mode whenever it is needed according to the place and the work that you are being involved in. And second thing, set the ringtone very prudently. It should be very kind, soft and gentle. It should not make others feel inconvenience, like different sounds are used to be there, different musics are used to be there, which makes other person very hesitate and very embarrassed to hear that also. Excuse yourself if you have to attend a call when you are with others, like if you are talking with some persons elder than you, then you should have an excuse that excuse me that I have to take some call, or I have to attend this call because it's very necessary. You should tell them or excuse them whenever a call comes and you are with others that time. Similarly, keep the call soft and brief when you are engaged in conversation. That means if you are already in one of the conversation, or here in a meeting, like in a professional work, if you are in a meeting, then just have a very brief talk with that person and let them understand that you are in an important meeting, so you could not delay. You could not delay the meeting, and you could not have the talk with them also. So be sensitive to other people's comfort. Respect their personal space. If it causes inconvenience to others, just inform the caller that you will call later. Right, that is also the correct one, because if you are sitting with your pure group, your friends group, or it may be your family groups, and whenever you have attended some call, if you are thinking that other persons are feeling inconvenienced by having your call, then you should make them understand that yes, we are with our family, we will be talking to you later, or I will call you later. That means you should have this much rule, that you should make the other person informed about this, that you are being in a peer group or in a family group. Avoid using cell while driving. That is one of the rule that you should follow. That you should not use this mobile or the cell phone while driving. You should not talk to others. Should not use the music also. Respect others' privacy. Do not take pictures of others without their permission. That is also the correct one. That you should not take the permission. That means you should not take the photo of the others without their permission. You should get permit to take the photo of others. Like it is inappropriate to take the photos of the girls and the couples enjoying privacy. We should not take photos of them. It is a very bad conduct. That is thing that you should take permission. Whether if it is correct, then you can take the photo also. So avoid being dependent on the cell phones. That is the correct one, that you should not get dependent. And nowadays every one of the class, not only this class but of every class peoples, it is not depend on the age also. Everyone is dependent on the cell phone, because without being that cell phone also, the person nowadays cannot do the work also. They need some using, they need some refreshments, everything is in the phone. So avoid being dependent on that cell phone. That is the biggest rule that you should follow. So I think you have gone through the personal etiquette, social etiquette, queue etiquette, and other sponsor etiquette, and the last one, that is social networking etiquette. And I think internet is one of the important thing which we are going through nowadays. And social networking your sites, Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, many, Twitter. These are different sites nowadays which are going through. So social networking sites creates refreshments also, giving you a good news also. It is making that each and every country, from every end we are getting the news or the informations to us. That is what the biggest thing, that the social networking sites gives a profit to us. But it doesn't mean that we will use our whole time or use the whole day along with the social networking also. So internet nowadays used more and more these days for networking, providing information, and to keep in touch with the friends and the families. So everything is very good, but we need to remember that everything we post online is publicly. We should not should not post like stories in the status nowadays everyone is using. We are using to post it, but that is publicly. So whatever you should post publicly, you should. But if you don't and you think that it is not good also, then you should post it privately. So we need to remember that everything we post online is public. Everything that is published online is traceable, because everything on the internet nowadays are traceable. Social networking site creates your cyber fingerprint. So this is something like we should follow the rules, and we should understand that what we are using in our social networking sites. So different steps that we should follow for our cyber etiquette for using during the social networking sites. Be kind and respectful. No one wants to associate with a negative person. We know that if some person are using a harsh word, or the other side person is not behaving well, then we used to think that the person is not good for us. Similarly, we should also be not good that much, like we should not be using different kind of words or abusing words with the others. We should act politely, be kind and respectful, then only we are going to be a positive person for the others. Similarly, choose appropriate form. Twitter is patterned for the communication of news. Facebook is generally used to connect with friends and the family, but nowadays we're using it for different things also. So you should use a appropriate form. Like if you want to be connected with your families, just use Facebook and the WhatsApps just to get your better information. And if you just want to for news, like communication, getting information from the different corners, you should use Twitter. Be discreet. Do not overshare informations. You should be of your own, should be a very private space, and should not overshare the information that you are having with you. Use your judgment while sharing personal informations and or posting messages. Don't post pictures of yourself or others unless you don't mind them being shared with others, right? Because if you share with a single person, it can be shared to lots of persons. If you don't want to be shared, just make it private. Don't share with the other persons also, because it will be moving various places also. It can be. So don't chat with the strangers. The person on the other hand can be maybe a phony, or it can be a biggest crime also, that if you're talking to the stranger. So avoid an inaccurate self-portrait while creating online content. Refrain from venting frustrations. Don't post things when you're angry, because we nowadays, for every situation, for every emotion, we are having the stories and the status. We used to keep different memes also nowadays. So just think it up that what things you should post, and don't post while you are angry or very depressed. You should not post all the things on their websites. Text only when absolute necessarily. Messaging can be addictive, because whenever you will be messaging person, you used to get addicted to that if you are using this Insta, you are having some time, that in this time limit I used to, like before sleeping, I used to use this Instagram for 2 hours, and the next day if you doesn't, it will make you addictive that you have to use. Otherwise you will be very much arrogant that what happened last day we don't know. We have to see the mobile, and we have to go through the site, and we have to chat also. So messages can be addictive, chatting can be addictive. So be absolutely necessarily, then only you can text to others. Here the next etiquette, that conversation etiquette. Conversations means how you should converse with others, how you should talk to the person, how you should reply. These all are the rules that we should follow while talking to others or conversing with others. In our day-to-day life, we ought to follow certain etiquette and manners. Choice, words, our body language, voice tone, these all are very necessary, because the tone which you are talking or the things which you are saying to the other, the body language how you are using, and a sense of humor can make our conversation effective and defective both, because person how he is talking is the main thing. If he is not talking in a good way, it can be defective also and can be effective also. So here are some things which you should and should not. Firstly, do not dominate over a conversation. Listening is half the conversation, because whenever you listen something and you just have to reply, that is very bad thing. First of all, understand that what the person is going to say and what he want to. If he want that he should reply, then you can. If he doesn't want that, he don't want you to get into the conversation, so you don't, better you should sit silently. So do not dominate over a conversation. You should listen first of all, and then you should talk, not before that listening to that. Avoid frequent use of I instead of using we. It means we should use we instead of using I. Avoid personal queries about the families and the income. You should not go through everyone's personal things. You should not enter. Never try to slander others' character or acts. Avoid sarcasm. Do not use swearing words or the foul language. You should not use the abused words, or you should not be arrogant with the others. Do not boast us about your achievements or your connections. It reveals your weakness. Similar thing, whenever we get a good friendship with someone or with a stranger, should not tell your achievements or your connections, because it makes you weak from inside. Avoid commenting on others' sense of dress, style or eating. You should not do that, because first of all we should see ourselves. If you have a good manner, then every person will be assumed to be a good only in your thinking. If it is about etiquette, then we will be seeing the dress codes and all, but it doesn't mean that you should make a comment on him about his dress or the style and the way of his eating or sitting. You should not comment out on the other persons. Never talk with the hands in your pocket or in your hips. Avoid smoking or chewing while in conversations, because it is very a bad manner, and it will make a bad image of the other person's brain also about us. Now the next thing, respect the right to privacy. Yeah, the privacy means something, every person will have a right that they have their own privacy. So it is one of the human right contained in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Like fundamental, it is one of the fundamental right, the person have a right to be privacy, and we should respect his privacy and he should respect our privacy also. So it is wrong to read the diary or the personal letters of the others. We should not overhear a conversation among people or listen to telephone conversation between the two persons. We should not enter into the conversation of between the two persons. We should not hear the phone conversations. We should not read the diaries or the personal things whenever they write for them. It is forbidden to peep into house through the windows. That is also the bad thing that persons used to do, that peeping out with the windows or by the gates of the others. That is also the bad thing. We should not peep out through the rooms and the bathrooms through keyholes and all. We must not enter someone's room without knocking. We should let them excuse that okay, someone is going to come. So we should ask the permission, and we should tell them that yeah, someone is going to come. We should not enter into the room without knocking or seeking the permissions, right? So it is a crime to enter someone's room or search for the things in their absence. That is the biggest crime, that if the person is absent over there and in this absence, we should not check out his room, or we should not go through their personal things, or we should not check their desks or the files. We should not open others' emails or search their personal directories or the subdirectories in their computers. We are also not allowed to pry any information for a person's lawyer, counselor, doctor, psychologist, priest, etc. That means every situations in our life are contained to different rules, and these codes or the rules which we should follow while doing these kinds of things are considered as an etiquette. So different kinds of etiquettes we have seen. Firstly, personal etiquette, social etiquette, then table manners, conversation etiquette, cell phone etiquette, social networking etiquettes. This all are the different rules. I think everyone gone through this topics. So I think this is the better, because now you are just a career developing student. So you should understand that how this etiquette should be followed. Then only you will be contained, or means to be assumed as a well behaved person, or coming from an upbringing family is good. Means a well bred person, means well breeding has been done with you. So that is for your family itself. If someone makes you feel proud, that means your family is only the thing which will be feeling proud of you. So you should follow different rules and things, and you should make these rules to be better, though that so that the person can understand you. You should follow some personal etiquettes also. You should go through the place. Whenever you enter into the place, you should see whether it is socially polite or not. So different things you should follow and should go through the rules whatever been given in the chapter. So according to the exam, if something is going to be in this chapter, So you can take the screenshots from this video. This is what the chapters are. So if some answers or some topics which you are going to learn, or if you just go through the chapter, that is also very good for you. So just go through the chapter. These are the question answers which you can see here, like what are manners, what is the importance of personal etiquette, what does table manners reflect, what is queue etiquette important, why do they insist on setting the mode of your cell phone. These are the different questions which can be asked in your exam also. So manner firstly make the person, and that is a behavior that you should be having with you and should get aware of the feelings of the others also. Similarly, etiquettes are the rules that are made conventionally to be set in the public societies and should behave politely. So you should follow both, and you should become a person of both, that you are having a good manners and you should follow a good etiquette also, not the person with only the good manner or only the etiquette. So I think that everyone gone through this chapter and get to the words which I have been saying.